I don't think the loss can be bad at all. I think we're going to shock the heck out of everybody. Here's the deal. What Robert Gibbs also said was what he believes, what I believe, what the president believes. We're going to win the House, and we're going to win the Senate. We're not going to lose either one of those bodies.
Vice President Joe Biden back on message only a week after Robert Gibbs took the White House off message.
And Top Line begins right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC News Washington Post Top Line. I'm Rick Klein.
And I'm Jonathan Karl.
Every day at noon Eastern, we're right here bringing you the latest political news and analysis, everything you need to know. And it's twitter.com/thenote to know even more. And John, at the White House today, kick us off today, sir.
Big story today is Top Secret. Blockbuster series started today in the Washington Post by Dana Priest and Bill Arkin, looking at what's happened in the intelligence world since September 11th. And look at these two numbers, Rick. The first one, 854,000 people now hold top secret security clearances in the intelligence community, and they have built 3 Pentagons worth of office space for intelligence agencies since September 11th. That is, if you're counting 17 million square feet worth of new office space. But the thing that really caught my attention in this Washington Post series was a photograph on page A7 of the Post of the Counterterrorism Center out in McLean, Virginia. And take a look at this. Anybody who has ever watched the show 24 knows that that thing looks exactly like CTU and Jack Bauer. But the funny thing about that, Rick, is that that series started back in 2001. And that center wasn't built until 2004.
Wow, someone's watching 24. John, a lot of interesting questions emerged from this. Not least, what are we getting for all this money? We're getting a lot of confusion, a lot of unclear oversight, and a heck of a lot of office space, as you mentioned. Next up, carte blanche. Things are set for the new senator from West Virginia to be sworn in tomorrow, Cart Goodwin, and the Democratic agenda is set to move again, or at least start to move again. With his swearing in tomorrow, the Democrats will move on to an unemployment insurance bill that President Obama pushed again for today. He knows they have the votes. Democrats want to put some more points on the board, and they can do it a lot easier, John, when they have 59. But still, there aren't that many big agenda items that are going to be able to happen between now and November.
No, the one that you'll have the immediate impact on is that unemployment extension. And they are actually, I'll use Joe Biden's word, they are literally going to move right from swearing him in to having that vote on unemployment insurance, and they will get the 60 votes they need now, something they have been unable to do in 3 previous tries before Mr. Cart Goodwin got to the Senate. So now, next up, rethinking Afghanistan. There's a sign here that the foreign policy establishment may be rethinking the war in Afghanistan, and it comes from the story from the front page of Newsweek here, a story written by Richard Haass, who is the president of the Council on Foreign Relations. In other words, the de facto spokesman of the foreign policy establishment. He says essentially that Michael Steele was right in his comments about Afghanistan, that, quote, the war the United States is now fighting in Afghanistan is not succeeding and is not worth waging in this way. The time has come to scale back U.S. objectives and sharply reduce the U.S. involvement on the ground. By the way, Rick, he also says that Steele was right in saying that effectively this is Obama's war.
This has a lot of people buzzing, as you mentioned. Richard Haass, a respected voice inside the foreign policy establishment, and we were seeing a lot of angst inside the Democratic Party about what is Obama's war, as you say. And finally today, the Bard of Wasilla. Try to repudiate this. Sarah Palin has us all wee-weed up today because she weighed in on Twitter about that planned Ground Zero mosque. And she went on to say that it's time for people to repudiate it. That is a new word. She recognized it as such and then said Shakespeare also made up new words because English is a living language, John.
And I might just say, I think she's really the Twitter Bard of Wasilla. I mean, we may have found the perfect medium for Sarah Palin.
Indeed we have. And we begin today's program in Alaska, where we're joined from Anchorage by Joe Miller, who is a Republican candidate for the Republican nomination for Senate in Alaska. We thank you so much for being here. We should mention that you are the Sarah Palin-backed candidate in that race. And I want to ask you, first off, what that means in Alaska. What is the Sarah Palin brand like? Does she have a significant political pull, or have people moved on from her?
Well, it's absolutely definite that her endorsement of this campaign has helped us. It's certainly given us national recognition. Really, in Alaska, what makes campaigns work, though, is the sweat equity that people put into the volunteer networks. It's a very small state population-wise. We expect in our Republican primary to have probably less than 100,000 votes. So really what makes these campaigns move forward are the people on the ground.
So I got to ask you, some video caught our eye that was posted by our friends over at Politico of one of your rallies, and if we can roll that video now, you'll see we got you in what looks like a pretty nice big Humvee, and then as that vehicle goes on, we see several of your supporters carrying signs and what appear to be some pretty big weapons. What was going on up there?
You know, guns are a pretty big thing up here in Alaska. In fact, per capita, we probably have the highest rate of gun ownership in the nation. The Second Amendment is very important to people up here in Alaska. So, you know, it's not unusual to walk into a Walmart or to walk into a gas station and see people carrying guns. Frankly, I wasn't in that Hummer. I was out there walking, shaking hands. But, you know, it's not unusual in political rallies. It's not unusual in parades to see that type of thing. Probably, though, in the lower 48, it does raise some eyebrows.
I want to ask you about a couple of different items that have come up recently. One involves the Tea Party Express. As you know, they have endorsed your candidacy. I understand that they're spending some more money on ads. They were actually just ousted from the Tea Party Federation yesterday over racist comments from their spokesman. Are you troubled by that? Are you worried at all about accepting there? Do you feel like it's appropriate to accept backing from a group that even other Tea Partiers are saying is racist?
Well, I think it's appropriate for us to make an unequivocal statement that this campaign is not in any way racist. In fact, we judge people by their character rather than the color of their skin. We have a number of minorities that are assisting us in this campaign. My perspective of it is that we will embrace, though, the help that's brought to this campaign by those that are really supportive of constitutional limited government. And I think that's the direction this country has got to go to rescue it from the financial insolvency that it's in right now.
And wanted to ask you also about the Social Security issue. You know, Sharon Angle has come under fire, the Republican candidate out in Nevada, for suggesting that the program should eventually be phased out for younger voters. What's your view on that? Is Social Security the kind of program that's simply sacrosanct and is always going to exist as it is now, or is it something that needs to be rethought?
Well, I think it's absolutely critical that the government keep its contract with the seniors that are currently dependent on Social Security. Now, part of our concern in this campaign is that the financial insolvency of this country is going to create an all-stop with respect to honoring federal obligations, and those that are most dependent are going to be the most hurt when we hit that sovereign debt crisis. So the first, I think, bit of order that we've got to get in place is financial solvency. But yeah, ultimately, we've got to transition out of the Social Security arrangement and go into more of a privatization, you know, and it's not that radical of an idea. It's something that, you know, President Bush had proposed. Congressman Ryan has a plan that we're evaluating. There does have to ultimately be a transition.
I've got one other quick one.
Social Security trust fund that does not exist. It's been raided by the federal government. We're now upside down as far as revenues coming in. And the outlays going out from Social Security
Mr. Miller,
as of April.
We're almost out of time.
It's a system that is broken, and so there does have to be change. There has to be transition.
Okay.
But for now, those that are dependent on it, we've got to keep those obligations.
Very quick question, just a yes or no answer. Do you favor this extension of unemployment benefits that the Congress is going to vote on, the Senate's going to vote on tomorrow?
The unemployment compensation benefits have got to, first of all, it's not constitutionally authorized. I think that's the first thing that's got to be looked at, so I do not favor their extension.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe Miller from Anchorage, Alaska, via Skype. Good luck with your campaign and the primary against Lisa Murkowski. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.